Good afternoon, brethren, and happy Sabbath once again. Okay, who among you had experienced fear in their lives? So, pag tinagalog natin yung fear, ito yung takot. I think most of us here in this room have already encountered the fear I'm referring to, and that fear depends whether that fear is big or small. Now, one of the areas we as Christians need to overcome, of course, is how to conquer our fear. And to give you some examples of fear, number one is the calamities, whether it is a natural or man-made. Now, natural calamities, which is right now we are experiencing it, it refers to we are having our fear because of the flood due to the a huge amount of volume of rain that it pours right now. Kanina nga nag-usap kami ni Cora, and in our place, I think it is almost 4 days raining daylight during day and night time. Now, another form of calamities is the earthquake, which in some areas in the Philippines had already experienced. Now, I also included man-made calamity, which we could relate that what is happening right now, the flood, even though we have rains, but what we are fearing of is the possibility of the flood it might create. And we know for the fact that calamities had already took a number of the lives of Filipinos, and not only that, it collapses or make devastation of the buildings, roads, and even it affects some of the establishments. Now, another one is the medical results. Now, for example, fear comes in. For example, we perform a certain medical result, then the result that we receive the result, and assuming there's a probable failure in one of the body organs, definitely it could lead us to fear. Now, another one is high cost of commodities and the cost of living. Now, I think we are also experiencing it right now. Like specifically, for example, yung ating cost of fuel, very erratic. So, that could also contribute a fear because alam natin na once there is a increase in fuel prices, it automatically affects the product that we use too. Now, another example is the job competition and security. So nowadays, I think we have so many graduates from schools, but in spite of that, there's no less. There is less there is less job opportunity for those newly graduate, and even for old employees. So meron din silang fear in terms of their security. Now, the last one is, of course, ensuring safety and security, which we could relate that, of course, in our respective homes. So we have the assurance na as much as possible, when we sleep or if we go to our respective houses, safety and security is present. Now, fear by definition is it is defined as natural, emotional, or instinctive response to a perceived or imaginary threat. Now, fear could also can be expressed as an emotional reaction towards a person, a thing, an animal, an activity, or even a perceived situation. Now, fear can be experienced both physical and mentally. Now, comparatively, our mental experience of fear is the most problematic one because it can trigger by our imagination, which means that we sometimes do overthink of what is not happening. So natatakot tayo na sabihin natin, oh baka mangyari itong ganito. Now, before we discuss more about the fear, let us took kumbaga mag-sideway muna tayo about certain facts about statistics relating to fear in the Philippine setting. Now, generally speaking, it is estimated roughly around 46% to 55% report a fear of unsafe streets and burglary in the local neighborhood. So that's the general one. Now, specifically in terms of public safety and crime fears, for unsafe streets, there is approximately 46% that we express our fear while walking in the streets. Now, for the property crime, since kanina nasabi ko, it's one of our fears that we have to provide a safe and security place. So, in relation to that, roughly around 55% worries about burglary or break-ins or possible break-ins at home. And safety disconnect, this pertains about the condition of the safety in our environment, and definitely or admittedly there is a gap between the statistics that had been reported by some of the office police stations. Now, in terms of personal anxiety relating to fear in the Philippines, around 63% of the young adult, they fear death. Now, in terms of the climate anxiety, of course, I'm referring to that. For example, what is happening right now, the rain it produces or we are experiencing, roughly around 69.5%, they view climate change as a very serious threat. Why? Because in the Philippines, it was estimated around 20 typhoons will hits the Philippines annually. So 20 typhoons. So that's the study. Now, in terms of the mental health and clinical anxiety prevalence, na approximately around 19.4% are experiencing health disorders. Now, the health disorders that includes depression and anxiety. Now, anxiety disorders. Now, this pertains to the statistics who had been diagnosed with anxiety, and it is around 3.3%. So that's the in terms of the data of the fear in the Philippine setting. Now we go back to the our topic about fear. Now, instead of conquering the fear, it is the reverse that is happening right now. Instead of conquering the fear, it is the fear that is conquering us, especially if the fear, as I've said earlier, is coming from our imagination. Again, as been told, we try to do overthinking. Surprisingly, this type of fear consumes a lot of our time. It distracts our body functioning and responsibilities, wherein we find difficulty in carrying certain tasks. Now, of course, it brings anxiety, depression, stress, nervousness, panic attack, And of course, the lack of confidence. And of course, if since fear is conquering us, it brings total effect in our mental and physical health. Now, studies have been made to find out what are the basic causes of fear, and this is how it happens. Now, the first one is intense situation. Now, people suffer from fear, especially when they are exposed to some extreme physical stimuli such as extreme cold, severe hot or hot temperature, or a very hostile environment that had been considered unsafe and dangerous to live in. Now, another cause is unfamiliarity. Now, people suffer from fear when they are afraid of the unknown and no previous knowledge and unfamiliarity of it. Another one is lack of information or too much vague information. People suffer from fear if they have no sufficient or enough information about an event or a situation. In today's world right now, the effect of social media had bombarded too much unfiltered information that may bring us also the fear, yung tinatawag na fake news. Another one is uncertainty. Uncertainty, this comes, the a person comes suffer from fear if they experience anxiety and discomfort in their lives. And to be honest, some people tend to be dependent their lives with astrologers. Ito yung mga nagpapahula para malaman ano yung kanilang kapalaran o ano mangyayari sa kanila kinabukasan. Now, of course, the last basic known cause of fear is the past experience. So, of course, this pertains to the experiencing something unforgettable, memorable, or even events that are very traumatic. And frankly speaking, all of these had already happened in the past. Now, having identified these known causes, we as Christians, of course, our mission is we must not allow fear to control ourselves. If fear control us, then it could bring us into a situation where there's no more longer the trust with our God. So, as a result, it might collapse our Christian faith. So the title of my sermonette for today is Overcoming Our Fear. Now the Bible gives us a vast information and corresponding scriptural references that will inspire us on how to overcome our fear. Especially, as I've said earlier, those unrealistic fear that surrounds our lives. So I'm going to mention biblical principles. The first one is truth overcomes fear. We can refer to John chapter 8, verses 31 to 32, and it says, Then Jesus said to those Jews who believed him, If you abide in my word, you are my disciples indeed, and you shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. Now, as previously told, having the lack of information is one of the causes of fear. Now, in this era of vast technology, where the social media now plays an important role in our lives, we have, of course, to identify or get more information, dig further the valid facts, and when once we have those information, rightful information, we have to hold fast to that information. And of course, if we have those information, then as much as possible, we could feel 100% confidence in ourselves. So the second is love overcomes fear. We can refer to First John chapter 4, verses 16 to 18, and it says, "And we have known and believed the love that God has for us. God is love, and he who abides in love abides in God, and God in him. Love has been perfected among us in this, that we may have boldness in the day of judgment, because as he is, so are we in this world. There is no fear in love, but perfect love casts our fear, because fear involves torment. But he who fears has not been made perfect in love." Now, we know that love is more powerful than fear. Fear, if fear is centered in ourselves, love is centered to God and others. We must turn our concerns from the fear, seeking only to do for those that pleases our God, and of course, showing our concerns by helping other people who are in need. Showing the love, of course, overcomes fear. Number three, faith overcomes fear. We can refer to Psalm 56, verses 3 to 4. It says, "Whenever I am afraid, I will trust in you. In God, I will praise his word. In God, I have put my trust. I will not fear. What can flesh do to me?" Now, we definitely know that faith is the sure knowledge that God really exists, and that he will accomplish those things that he had promised to us. God will definitely change or give us the strength we need to overcome our fear. Then the fourth one is courage to act overcomes fear. We can look into the scripture in Joshua chapter 1, verses 8 to 9. It says, "This book of the law shall not depart from your mouth, but you shall meditate it day and night, that you may observe to do according to all that is written in it. For then you will make your way prosperous, and then you will have good success." And in verse 9, have I not commanded you? Be strong and of good courage. Do not be afraid, nor be dismayed, for the Lord your God is with you wherever you go. Now, this is what God had instructed Joshua, and which we know that Joshua follows without any hesitation. Now, one of the causes of fear, as mentioned before, is we are in a situation where when an unforgettable or traumatic experience had happened from the past, that you are not being able to face or to act for its closure or resolution. Now, until we step in towards our faith with the right motive, armed with the truth, we will not be able to see the tremendous victory of overcoming our fear. Now, in other words, we must be willing to face and to step into the situation associated with our fear. Now, in closing, we had already know the basics why or how fear occurs. And as given, these are the basic known causes of fear: intense situation, unfamiliarity, lack of information or too much information, uncertainty, and of course, having the past experiences. Now, as mentioned, the scriptures in the Holy Bible provided us uh, how to overcome. That is to have the truth, the love, faith, and of course, the courage to act. Now, the question is, fear actually, kumbaga, it talks about ourself, our emotions. So we have to determine how where fear comes, saan ba nanggagaling yung fear. So probably we can look into our brain. Now, the primary part of the brain that controls and processes the fear is what we call the I hope I pronounce it correctly, no? Amygdala, tama ba? O amygdala. And of course, the hypothalamus. Now, how are these two operates? The amygdala, it is actually found inside the brain, ano? And ang shape niya, it's a small thing. It's a small, like an almond. Now, it acts as the main alarm system. Now, the amygdala, usually it senses any threats, okay? Now, if the threats occurs, the hypothalamus now receives the signal from the amygdala to release the stress hormones, which is called the adrenaline. Now, if this adrenaline is being released, now the person will feel a fast heartbeat and of course quick breathing, which are these two actions are usually the normal actions when a person is sabi natin being feared, okay? So ito yung so why I'm sharing this, kasi it's very sabi natin it's very general na yeah, we can overcome our fear, but sabi nga nila, mas madaling sabihin pero mahirap gawin. So I'm sharing this slide for us to understand na talagang it depends on us ourselves how to overcome our fear. So on this side, we know that fear is overcoming us because of these 5 common causes. And I also presented how to overcome fear based on the Bible. Now, to sum up, of course, it will depend on ourselves how can we absorb or how can we use these the things that we have learned from now. Now, gaining the victory, of course, we all definitely dream of having 100% overcoming our fear. And of course, I've said earlier, since it depends on ourselves, it will take some time. And it depends on the person how he or she can face it and eventually act on his or her own fear. Now, I think we are all familiar with this. Ano yung fear not. Now, fear not is actually can be found in the Bible. And surprisingly, if you are using a King James version, fear not or be not afraid actually shows around 70 to 100 times. Now, what does it mean? When fear comes, all we need to do is to talk to our God through prayer, and we need to present our request and our needs to Him. And we can look into this very inspiring verse, Isaiah 41, verse 10, and it says, "Fear not, for I am with you. Be not dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you. Yes, I will help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand." So what does it says? Fear not. Therefore, my dear brethren, fear not. A blessed and a wonderful Holy Sabbath to everyone.